Hi everyone. My inquiry activity that I created for my third graders has to do with creating an anemometer to measure wind speed and determining if altitude impacts wind speed itself. So my question that I would have my students trying to come up with on their own is how do we measure wind speed and how is it impacted by altitude? So this would be done during my weather unit. I do teach weather instruments. Even though it's more of a fourth grade concept, but we do touch on it, and I think this would be a great activity, especially when talking about wind and how it connects with the actual instrument. So my students would engage in some discussion on their own to hopefully come up with this question independently. If needed, I will help guide them to it. We would then review some research about anemometers themselves, how they work, and I've gone back and forth with whether or not my students would be able to just be handed materials and try to create an anemometer on their own, or if it's something that's going to need more guidance by me to make sure it's done correctly before they go out and test. So my goal right now is to just do it with them first, but it would kind of depend on how much inquiry they've had leading up to this activity. They would then work together in groups to create their anemometer, develop a plan, and test how altitude then impacts wind speed using their anemometer. We would analyze the results both within the groups and as a class, and then I would help to build that connection to science with a further lesson and instruction. So here are my worksheets that I would be using throughout this activity. You'll notice that there's one over here on the side that's more of a pair discussion. The one in the center is more for the team, and then the last one is a reflection that would be done independently. So these kind of would go throughout the different steps of the activity. I am big on using Google Classroom, so I would probably do more of this digitally. That's typically what I do in science, so that would make use of technology as well. So this activity relates to STEM because for science, we are collecting data and testing the use of the anemometer. Creating the anemometer itself is using a man-made instrument, so this would count as our technology. They are engaging in some engineering by designing and building the anemometer themselves. And for mathematics, we're measuring and calculating the wind rotations. I would consider this to be a level 2 or level 3 inquiry activity. They are more so creating that question on their own. They are going to be working through that procedure on their own, developing their plan for testing with their anemometer, and then coming up with a solution on their own as well. Really the only thing that I would probably help them with is creating that anemometer like I had mentioned. So this is really going to depend though on the group of students I have and how much inquiry instruction they've had in the past. So that would kind of differ. So here's a closer look at me creating my anemometer. Super easy if you've never done this. Definitely look into it. It's a great activity to do with students. And I also have a video here that shows me actually using it. So obviously, like I had mentioned, this would be done outside with my students, and my school actually sits on a hill, so we'd be able to test those different altitudes. However, for this purpose, I wanted to show you inside and how it worked with the fan, my fake wind, so that you could see. So thanks for watching.